Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Rustbug Collector here, and I gotta say, the 1000 Toys Halo Infinite Master Chief is one of my favorite Halo action figures of all time. Now, I didn't go out and pay the retail price for this. I got lucky, and there was a time where GameStop had this on clearance and then did a 50% off all their clearance, and I ended up getting this figure for around $60. Now, that has happened to me again with another 1000 Toys Halo figure, and I wanted to talk about it here on the channel. But all that to say, we're starting off on a really good foot here. But I started off with this figure to give you some background that I have handled a 1000 Toys figure before, and again, I love this figure. This has been on my computer desk for a very long time. I'm always posing it and just messing with it. Obviously, it's missing part of the weapon here, and I feel like there's another piece missing too. Oh yeah, up here, this piece is missing. No idea where those went. It's just from fidgeting with it on my desk so much, and now it's got some wear and tear, but it is my favorite Halo action figure just for the posability, the die-cast elements, and so many great poses can be done with this figure. So recently, Nerdzoic, the toy company, it's like an online toy shop, they had a very limited supply of the Halo Reach Emile figure for only $100 because of some packaging damage. So they were selling them loose basically, and I just could not resist. Now these are more expensive than the Master Chief figure. To me, I just couldn't justify the like $180 to $200 price tag that these figures were released with. That was just too much to swallow for a team of 6 Spartans. But this one for $100, I thought, you know what the heck? Let's give it a try, let's see what it's all about, and maybe cross our fingers that some more packaging gets damaged along the way and I can pick up the other 5. Now out of the box, these figures feel very similar to each other. They're mostly made out of a lightweight plastic that feels similar to a really good quality Gundam. They're just more of that like lightweight plastic but still sturdy plastic, if that makes sense. And then down in their feet, pieces of their feet and knee joints are made out of die cast, so there is some heft to these figures, but it's towards the bottom and it makes them much more stable when standing. I do wish maybe that a few more pieces were die cast in the figure overall, but ultimately, they feel very comparable between the two of them. I was kind of expecting that to be the case, where they would just be more lightweight figures, but still super posable and very detailed. And that is definitely the appeal of these figures. The sculpt work here is absolutely incredible. Every detail of the armor is here in high relief detail. It's incredible. Even down to the undersuit, everything is there down to the rivets. And it's really incredible. It's a really fantastic figure to look at just standing here. And it's not just that, these also are designed for good posability. They can move their joints in ways that are nearly impossible in real life if you were wearing this much armor, but it's very video game-esque. You know, they can stretch and they can bend in ways that allow them to grab their weapons, even get a really impressive double joint there on the elbow. Ball hinge hands, very similar to like a Hot Toys where you can just pop off the hand and reposition that swivel as needed. There's even forward and back crunch, which is just incredible with a figure, again, that is this bulky. It's very difficult to make a fully armored character like this pose as well as this one does. Certain pieces of the armor also float, so like down here on the hips, these move so that when you position the hips forward, they can kind of tuck out of the way and allow you to get a much more 90-degree angle here with the hips. You can bend the knees down into a very, very nice bend there. Lots of mobility here at the ankle as well as a little toe bend there. And it all feels very true to the character. Like none of the joints are out of place. They are where they should be and they bend the way that they should. Again, in a very video game logic sort of way. If you put a human in this armor and ask them to move around, they would not have the mobility that this character does. But this is very, very impressive for what it is. Posing a kneeling Halo Reach Spartan is something that childhood me couldn't even dream of because I had the McFarlane figures and those are notoriously bad with their articulation. So in that department, this is very, very nice to see. However, I don't love this figure. And there's some very obvious reasons why that I'm going to get into. Now, first and foremost, this Master Chief figure came with the assault rifle, the shotgun, a sword, and like half a dozen hands or something like that. Quite a few accessories for what it is. Emile came with this shotgun that can be attached to his back with this little peg here. 10 interchangeable hands if you count the ones that are already on the figure itself, so that's not bad there. And then 1 additional weapon, an energy sword, which I guess is some sort of cruel irony that he was killed with one, but never wielded one in the game. It's a fine inclusion, but a rocket launcher or anything that he also used in the game would have just been so much more suitable here. What is noticeably lacking though is that his knife is not removable from his shoulder pad. They didn't even include like a loose one that you could just pose him around with, and he has no other accessories. No other weapons, just the hands that can interchange, an energy sword that he never uses in game, and his shotgun, which I do appreciate the shotgun. The detail is very nice here. It again has that same high relief sculpting that we see on the figure, and it is very impressive. If you wanted just a standard Halo Reach Emile holding a shotgun, boom, there you go, because that's pretty much what he uses for most of the game anyways. So I'm not really bummed about that specifically, but it's just that the price point of this figure, I think, demands more. The sculpt work definitely rings true for a figure of this quality and this price point. The chrome visor is also very beautiful and nice with that etched ghost face in there as well. But then the paint apps just kind of fade off from there. We have the right deco on the shoulder pads, but then the body is just kind of painted in like this all black coloration, which isn't even very accurate to the character. He shouldn't just be all black. But then you have these ammo racks on his chest plate that are just kind of left unpainted. We do get some nice brass detailing here on the grenade launcher rounds, and again, some more deco hits down on this little pouch. And there are some very fine details that I appreciate, like the UNSC logo and this little red logo, whatever that is. Some silver detailing here and there, the red striping, even down to the boot striping here as well. That's all well and good. I do appreciate that they got those little details, but the grenades being unpainted and the chest armor and the shoulder pad just being more black rather than like a gunmetal or a steel metal, it just feels and looks cheap. Now I know that weathering is really not the name of the game for these figures, like even Master Chief here really only has one piece of weathering and it's right there on his chest plate. That's I think from like maybe when he fights Atriox, but they primarily leave off most other weathering, and that's really okay, but then make up for it with some other paint details. And the reason why I say this is that this is the same price point nearly as a Hot Toys figure. Hot Toys figures that are loaded with accessories, weathering, paint details, and sculpt work, that is the comparable price point here, and that's what I have an issue with. Now again, I paid $100 for this Emile figure, which I think is on the high end of what I'd be willing to pay for this figure, as it is. If I was paying retail price, the $185 or $200, I mean after tax and shipping, probably well over $200 for this figure, I would expect a lot more. Again, the sculpt work and a lot of those finer paint details are there, but there's a lot that's just missing. It just feels absent. So I wanted to go back and take a look at some other Emile figures throughout the history of Halo and just compare them. And no, I will not be comparing it to the Halo Kubrick figure here. This one doesn't count, but it is still Emile and I want to showcase it. It's very cute. I think what everyone thinks of when they think of Halo Reach figures is the McFarlane figures here. And while I don't have a great copy of Emile, this is my childhood variant that I definitely beat up a lot. It's missing some pieces here and there, but this is Emile from McFarlane. You can see a lot of weathering, dry brushing, paint apps. They went all out with the detail, and I think that this figure retailed for somewhere around like $14 or $15. Now, of course, a lot of these paint apps and production costs are no longer possible or even relevant in today's market. Everything just costs more. But for the time, this was a very excellent representation of Emile. You can see even here the straps are painted on his chest armor where they're just plastic on this. They look like cheap plastic on this Emile, which is very disappointing. I'd have to go back and look at the game model, but it also appears that there's missing black deco on the top of his thigh here, actually on both sides. So there's just details like that that I just would not expect to be missing off of a $200 figure. Now, of course, before everyone goes and glazes on the Halo Reach McFarlane figures, I mean, the articulation was just abysmal. That is all the range you got on those legs, and his face, well, it's painted. It sure is painted. Not painted well, but it's painted. Paint misalignments and, issues like that were just well known with McFarlane. But again, for the time and for the price point at the time, this was really fantastic. Another difficult thing is that these guys will not stand up. Their feet are just not really designed to stand on their own very well. I've been trying to get this guy to stand on the desk, and of course, oh, okay, yeah, I was gonna say, of course he does it on the first try, but no, these guys just do not want to stand up well on their own, so he is just going to be sat in the back. Next up, we have the Emile that everybody wants to hate on, the Jazzwares Spartan Collection Emile. And honestly, comparing these two side by side here, if I didn't know the price point and I wasn't handling them, feeling the different plastic qualities, I would be inclined to say that this was the more expensive version. And I'm not just saying that. Like, that is my honest reaction when I just compared these two side by side. This is the first time doing that on camera. And yeah, if I just had a picture of these two, I would be inclined to think that this might be the more expensive one. It has dry brushing on all the armor pieces. It is missing some deco, like I just noticed that shoulder pad is missing its deco. Some of the straps aren't painted. But for a $20 figure at retail, this is a very nice example of Emile. Fully articulated with that early, I think, Wave 2 articulation for Spartan collection, so the joints are really nice and solid. The weapons were a little bit gummy out of the packaging, but this is actually a swap. It's a shotgun from the Legendary Edition statue. In fact, I did a little short about this on my channel here. You can go back and watch that. I got these from AliExpress, and they swap over really nicely with these Jazzwares Halo Reach figures. The coloration of the armor looks much better. It's much more gunmetal gray. The straps are painted. The little grenades here are painted. And would you believe it? Take a look at this. You can actually take out that knife from his shoulder pad. I love that. I don't mind that you can't take it out on this figure, but at least include the knife as a separate accessory. Maybe even give it a swappable shoulder pad where the knife is removed so that you can pose it with that. The fact that this is included on a $20 figure and not included on a nearly $200 figure is kind of ridiculous to me. And now for one final comparison. This one will be a little bit tricky, but we have the Play Arts Kai Emile. This one is also fantastic. I picked this one up last year at Big Fun down in Columbus, Ohio, and I think I paid like $60, $70 for it at the time. It was loose, but it had all of its accessories. And this would be considered like the Hot Toys of its time. I think it was released around the time of the game, and this figure is phenomenal. My one and only gripe with the Play Arts Kai figures is that proportionally they're a little bit anime. Their legs are rather long, their torso is a little bit short, and their head can be a little bit undersized. But look at the detail on this figure. It's got paint washes, it's got paint detail for the grenades, it's got everything that you could want out of a Halo Reach Spartan figure. In fact, I've almost got the complete Halo Reach team. I'm just missing Noble 6 in the Play Arts Kai series. And you can pick these figures up on eBay for under $100 now. They might have changed or fluctuated since the 1000 toys have come out, but I've picked up each and every one of the team members for less than $100. They are super posable, they can do all of the things you'd want them to, including have swappable hands, and you can, in fact, get these guys into a kneeling position. The articulation actually is very similar to that of the 1000 toys. They're much heftier as these are cast in solid plastic, and oh my goodness, would you believe it? This one also has a removable knife, or kind of. It's a little bit stuck in there just because of the nature of that bent knife blade that he uses, the kukri, but it is removable. I'm not going to try and force that right now. That might just be a little bit stuck in there, but still, it is the principle of the thing. Now, one thing that's also worth pointing out is that AliExpress has had this bootleg Noble 6 1000 Toys figure for quite a while now. They've priced this guy at like $20 or $24, I think, and it has a lot of the same articulation. It's a much cheaper quality of plastic. The joints are sometimes fragile like that. I need to glue this one back together. I forgot. It was kind of broken right out of the box, but the articulation is there. It just needs modification like this. This needs to be glued and probably won't go back together for the rest of this review. So that does go to show what you get when you buy a bootleg figure, but there's good articulation, and I've seen many people take this figure, make 3D printed armor, and really make some awesome custom Spartans with it. So for the price, it's not bad. It just needs some modification, probably some paint apps, some weathering, things like that to really make it stand out. But ultimately, it's not that bad. For a fraction of the price of an official figure, I'd say it's not bad. Now, unfortunately, right now we only have Noble 6, so while the comparison is valid to a certain degree, I can't show you a bootleg Emile and say go buy that. But I will say that maybe play the waiting game and see if they release a bootleg version, because again, this is 90% of what this is here. What I feel like I have in my hand with this Emile figure, I feel like I have most of it here in this bootleg. So okay, there's the lineup of all these different variants of Emile, and that just leaves the question, which one is the best? And I've got to say, It's not this one. That's the only takeaway I have here. The other three I think are perfectly fine depending on what you want to collect. If you want a really nostalgic figure that does the job very nicely with some good detail, sometimes some wonky paint apps, but overall a solid figure, get the McFarlane one. These are still typically, you know, I think like under 20 bucks a piece. You can get the whole team very easily, especially on eBay. And then, you know, you have the same option here with Jazzwares. Most of these are still relatively cheap. I know on the aftermarket some of them have gone up. I think Emile now sits at like $40 or maybe $50. Same with Carter, but you can get them relatively cheap. Personally, if you're going for high-end, more like Hot Toys level, I would definitely suggest getting the Play Arts Kai. They're very excellent figures. Sometimes they have some loose joints, but overall, they're phenomenal. And then there's this. For $1,000, you can have a full Noble team. And honestly, I just think that that is way too high of a price for these figures. There is a lot of good things going on for it. I like the die-cast elements. I love the sculpted detail. I love the articulation. But for the price, I just expect a lot more out of my figures. If this had the correct paint apps and a few more accessories, you might see me being okay with it at the $100 price point or even the $125 price point. That'd be pushing it, but that still wouldn't be outrageous. The way that it is, it just feels lacking. It feels like it's missing something, and that's really disappointing to say when I wanted these figures to be really cool. I wasn't personally going to drop $1,000 on them, but I was excited that they were doing more Halo figures from 1000 Toys because of how much I loved that Master Chief. So in closing, all that to say, this figure, was it worth $100? Yeah, I'm glad I tested the waters with the 1000 Toys. At $100, I saved myself, I guess, $900, and I didn't have to buy the rest of the team. But yeah, I really hope that they continue to do Halo figures and just make them better than this. That would be my only hope. I do love the articulation. I do love the sculpt detail. All of that stuff is good. It's just that I can get better in some other areas, some very important areas like paint apps, on cheaper figures. And that's disappointing to see. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up. I think I've been yapping a little bit too much here. And so I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments. What are you thinking about these 1000 Toys figures? Are you collecting them? Are you not? Are you going a different direction? I hope this video was helpful and informative with just the different comparisons. It's nice to break into the world of Halo with some reviews every now and then, so this has been refreshing. But again, let me know down in the comments, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful evening, noon, or night, depending on when you watch this video, and as always, I'll be sure to catch you all in the next video.